What's up, guys? Subwars here, back for another VOD review. This is another game from TFT Subwars versus Kai. I wanted to do another VOD review from this because it was such a blast. So many cool people from both of our communities participated that, it would feel bad if we just did one VOD review and then popped out. So let's check out this lobby. A pretty sick lobby. It doesn't have Demacian Raptor in it, but it's got Joe Bookmark in it, who changed his name to Mario Kart Player 5. Wigwug, the many W's and G's player, Mocha by None. I mean, everyone's a member of both of our communities because that's how it works. So yeah. But in any case, this was a very fun game. We are in the multi-talented portal as well. So that means, as you can see, all of our guys are both of their traits for their headliners, or 2 out of 3 if they're at 3 costs. But yeah, this lobby, I think it went a little bit more like I thought some of the other lobbies were going to go. I drafted Joe Bookmark onto my team thinking that he was going to be an absolute smurf, and you'll see what happens. This is a pretty interesting start from Fire Mage here. A lot of these augments are pretty bad early. You kind of almost have to go for the shock treatment to play the early game in a way that's reasonable whatsoever. And he does end up picking up this Cannon, which is a nice pickup. He also got dropped the double Lulu here, and you'll see this double Lulu ends up developing very, very interestingly. Just plays the double Lulu on the board right now, and I believe he ends up making a Shojin there. Now, to talk about Joe B's spot, this is, I feel like, the classic Joe Bookmark win streak spot here. He's got 4 Disco in with the Disco Tark, got an Ionic Spark Slammed, which is a solid slam, and he took Escort Quest. So you can see every fight that he wins, as long as this dummy lives, he's making 3 gold. I feel like this is like the perfect Joe B spot because he gets to play for streak, he gets to farm a bunch of gold, go fast 8, maybe fast 9 if he has a good enough spot. And I mean, yeah, this spot is so easy to play. If you look at the right side there and you look at Joe B, you can see he goes 5 here. He levels to 5 here. But yeah, we're just tapping around the board. We see Wigwug's board here. Wigwug, a player who really, really likes playing around Executioners. You see this Amumu and Vex. He has both on his bench. He also has the Pantheon as well. He really loves playing around those units. And he even slammed an Adaptive Helm here, which not the best item onto an Olaf here, but it means that he gets to play for Executioners, which is really what he likes to do. Though he ends up actually selling a lot of them here, though I don't remember if this game he ends up getting back into the comp or not. Mocha by Nunspot is also pretty interesting. This LW and Hodge slammed. Both Kai and myself were talking about potentially the pickup of the Gnar here. It would make your board a ton stronger. Gnar can hold these items really, really well. The problem is we don't really have synergies in for it. But yeah, Mocha opts to not pick it up here. I think me and Kai were saying, like, yeah, we'd like to pick this Gnar up here and just play around the early game because then we can actually play like a win streak, save some HP. Whereas now we're playing like a kind of mediocre, like almost Heartsteel board, but we're not even really playing Heartsteel, which feels kind of strange. But yeah, first carousel here, the thing of note is there is a spatula on this carousel, which just gets nabbed by Mocha immediately. I don't recall exactly what he ends up making out of it, but yeah, the spat for Mocha is really, really nice. And the other thing to call out here is that there was a Lulu on this carousel. So if you look at Fire Mage's spot, he starts the game essentially with a Lulu 2 here, which is yeah, nothing to sneeze at. This Lulu is gonna make it so easy to play for win streak. You can just go level 5, put anything in, and your ward's gonna be incredibly strong. The only downside is we lost the fight before this at 2-3. I think we did lose to Joe Bookmark, which at least they're both on the same team, so it's not like there's like a team kill. I mean, there is a team kill, but I mean, somebody's got to win. But it does certainly feel a little bit bad that, we lost our streak, and now we've made this Lulu 2, which is going to hurt our econ a lot. The upside is that, I mean, a Lulu 2 is a Lulu 2. You're happy with a Lulu 2. So, yeah. I think, yeah, we haven't looked at Stridebreaker's board yet, who has this Cluttered Mind and this blue buff slam. Certainly looks like an 80 flex angle, though. I think me and Kai at this point talked about the fact that 80 flex, I feel, has more developed away from the blue buff with, like, buffs to stuff like Caitlyn. Like, blue buff isn't as good of a slam as it used to be. It used to be amazing because you always wanted to play for Ezreal. But now you can play for Caitlyn pretty well. Blue buff can go onto stuff like Zed and Akali, but it's not the best. And we also see here the 5 streak from Joe Bookmark. That is plus 15 gold in the early game, plus all the streak gold. So he is absolutely very, very pleased with his spot. This is what I want to see from Joe B. This is when I drafted him onto my team. I said, you know what, like Joe B, surely he's gonna be win streaking every game, stomping all these noobs. And I mean, it kind of happened. Another teardrop here for Stridebreaker, which is, once again, like a little bit awkward because now we've already made blue buff. So, like, we have to make, like, a Protector's Vow or something. We're never making a Static Shiv. Those extra tiers a little bit annoying here. And then Josh QQQ, is just playing like Giga Lost Streak opener here. Ends up picking up a second Kale here and just makes Kale items. I'm pretty sure was just like a Kale reroll hard force. I think Kai was talking about how he didn't really like the caretakers in this comp, though I do think if you look at the stats on caretakers in some reroll comps, it actually looks surprisingly solid. Just because it guarantees you get to your BIS. You know, we have guaranteed Gwynsu Gunblade here, and if we can get to Kale as our headliner, then we will be really, really happy. So I think it's actually like quite fine. A little bit, you know, like a tiny bit suboptimal, but still like not bad at all. I actually like bulk a lot in a spot like that because we have all these extra components. We can spread them really, really easily. He ends up going for the tons of stats, which I think is like all right. And then goes for the 3-2 roll down. When you're playing reroll, you tend to want to do this. It's kind of awkward. Like you see the Seraphine, which like at this point you might have to end up taking. Because like if you roll really, really deep, like at this point we've rolled so deep and we don't have a headliner. The other really awkward thing is he pivots over to Wigwug's board, and we realize that this is contested Kale reroll. Wigwug has 7 Kales. He took Return on Investment, I think is the name of that augment, and he rolled it to 0 on 6, found 7 Kales, but did not find the Kale 3 yet. So this is like a really, really scary spot for both Josh and Wigwug, who, I mean, they are contested Kale at this spot. Wigwug is 0 gold, so there's nothing he can do. Josh can potentially just sort of like push levels from this spot, take whatever, but it's still kind of annoying because he's built items for Kale that don't really go on anyone else. And then Dr. Phil in this spot is, it's like a Bard reroll angle, right? He already has the Bard headliner, has the Gnasher's Tooth made, and has augments, you know, pumping up and tons of stats, both going to give a little bit of attack speed to this Bard, going to get him casting as much as possible. I really want like a mana item onto this Bard. I think people really tend to prefer like blue buff. So if we get like a blue buff next item, that would be really nice. The only problem is we have 0 tiers, so hopefully we end up getting to like a blue buff. You could also go something like a red buff as well. Something I wanted to talk about actually in these lobbies is it's so cool, like the way that carousel works here. We didn't get a chance to listen in. Next time I really want to listen into people during carousel, but like, you know, if We're Number One ends up getting a spat here, but like imagine someone else on We're Number One's team is picking before him, and he says, I really need the spat. Can you leave the spat for me? Like you can sort of like change your priority of the items that you want based on the items that your team wants. It's a really, really cool way to, I mean, just to play TFT in general. We're Number One spot, by the way. He took the spat and ends up in this kind of weird spot where he's playing like Clear Mind, AD Flex, but then the spat is like kind of awkward to use. It doesn't really do too much in that spot. You can play, I think he ends up making an 8-bit spat, which is, it's all right, but, you know, not as valuable as something like a pentakill spat and a pentakill comp or something like that. The upside is that he does have this Zed already with you know, Renans, which will be really, really solid onto the Zed. So, yeah, it's not the worst spot in the world, but he's also like definitely a little bit low in HP. When you play this line, you really want to be like relatively healthy HP wise. You don't want to drop low because you need that HP to get big like Heartsteel cash outs late game. So it's a little bit of a scary spot for him. But you know, maybe we can come back. And then like another bad loss here to Josh, who ended up picking up the headliner Gnar, which I think is really smart. Just put the items onto Kale and said, you know what, I'm not going to play Kale reroll. I'm contested. I'm just going to play around the Kale too. Hope that Wigwug just like doesn't end up hitting, and I'll just push levels and play something else. Which I think is very, very smart to say, you know, well, I'm contested in this line. Like if I try to roll down, there is like very, very low chance that I'm actually going to find headliner Kale. So I'll just do this. Joe B here, he's he finally got his streak broken. I think the last fight he lost it, or maybe that he would have been 100 streak. So I think he lost 2 fights last stage. But still quite rich. Someone in his chat did a Cassante copy pasta, so I can't see his level, but he's level 8 here. Yeah, he's level 8 for 1 with 30 gold. And a pretty solid board, right? He finds this Lulu 2. Kai was like, oh, do you really make the Lulu 2? But I'm pretty sure in Joe B's head, with this amount of gold, with how weak some of the people in this lobby are, like we beat Stridebreaker's board, which is, he was still playing around Vi, so it's very easy to beat that. Like we can just look to go fast 9 from this position. And then we hit Prismatic Augment here, which I think, yeah, it makes it even more sort of obvious, like, okay, we're just going to take Prismatic Hedge Fund here and play for a fast 9 angle, which I mean, I think makes perfect sense in this position. And it also makes perfect sense when you are playing around Disco, because fast 9 Disco feels really good. So yeah, Stridebreaker ends up making the pivot into this board, ends up getting a Caitlyn 2 and a Zac to his headliner. The only scary things are Caitlyn items are really rough. He ends up putting the blue buff on Caitlyn, which, yeah, Kai and I think, didn't like too much. I think I definitely would have preferred just a red buff onto this Caitlyn here, and then you just blue buff the Ezreal, or you could even think about other items like red buff, blue buff Ezreal, and then go for, I mean, wait for like a guard breaker onto Caitlyn. But yeah, the blue buff on Kate, it just really doesn't do too much because her mana is so high. It's not the best possible item on her. Fire Mage, the Lulu player here. This is a tragic roll down, by the way. Is rolling here 6 Lulus and just tried to find a Lulu headliner but can't find one. And the other thing is he hit hologram, which is the best possible augment for Lulu reroll. The problem is we don't have a Lulu headliner, so we're playing down an entire prismatic augment right now. So a little bit tragic. It's possible that maybe he could have picked up just any headliner to play for a few rounds. I didn't see his entire roll down, but just any kind of Spellweaver headliner, just play that for a couple of rounds and then roll more, because now he ends up in the spot where he's like very broke. It's hard for him to continue to roll. So yeah, really scary. But Kai's reaction. It was so fun watching this games, honestly, especially because like we're rooting for the people on our team, rooting against the people on the enemy team. It's so much fun. Yeah, I think Kai's like, let's stay on this POV to see if he rolls more, but he's stuck on, like, he's 20 gold. It's 2 more rounds before we go to minions. Like, I think it's reasonable to say that we're not gonna roll like 2 deep here. So yeah, we end up just sitting on this board for a round or two. Also, we end up fighting Joe Bookmark here, which is good for Joe that he gets to fight a relatively weaker board. Bad for us because we're going to take a big loss, but we're on the same team, so happy for Joe, I guess, who ended up going 9, rolled a couple of times and found Twisted Fate. He's level 9, 40 gold here, which is insane. He's got this this pair of Blitzcranks here, and he rolls and finds Blitzcrank 2. So now he has Blitzcrank 2, TF2, and 37 gold. He can go 10 now in this position. The other thing to note is that we picked up 2 TFs on that roll down. So now we are 5 TFs. If we just find 4 TFs, we have TF3. TF is a very uncontested unit. So it's actually very reasonable to find TF3 in the current meta, just because, I mean, who's going to be denying your TF3? I mean, nobody. No one's playing these units. Like I was talking about earlier, we are #1 spot is just pretty scary. Ends up making the 8-bit spot. We're just playing it as 3 8-bit, which is pretty rough. He's also Clear Mind, but he can't really get Clear Mind value because he's holding these pairs. Speaking of weak spots, we look at Wigwug's spot again, who has 7 Kales, but cannot for the life of him find Kale 3. I think he's just going to roll down here to look for Kale 3. And I mean, there's 3 Kales. I think there might still be 3 Kales out, but there aren't that many Kales out, I believe. We could look around the lobby, but he rolls down here, makes the Karthus 2, and doesn't hit on the Kale 3, which is so sad. But hey, I mean, he's not on my team, so I have no tears for him. The Wigwug had an amazing performance on the day, so yeah, I mean, can't blame him too much. We are #1 here, ends up hitting a Lucian on the roll down, which kind of bails him out a little bit, though he ends up losing this fight. I'm like, maybe Heartsteel loss, XD. But yeah, look at this. Actually, this is Stridebreaker's spot, who was the player we were talking about earlier, the blue buff Caitlyn. Also ends up finding a Lucian here, has Lucian paired up, actually, and has a pretty good backline. All things considered, he's got this Caitlyn too. He found an Ezreal that he got the red buff onto. He has a Lucian who's just going to provide relatively good synergies. It's kind of awkward because we just have this Thresh 2 on our board who doesn't actually provide any synergies to the board, but he is a Thresh 2, and like we need as much as we can get. But it's a scary spot. This lobby ends up getting really close HP wise. Wigwug and Mocha is super low. We are #1 super low as well. And I will say for myself, I'm very pleased with this setup because Mario Kart Player 5, Joe Bookmark, is on my team. Josh QQQ is on my team. Fire Mage is on my team. So I'm actually very happy with how things are looking here. We're #1 is my last player, who I'm thinking kind of looks like they might end up bot 4ing, but I was also pretty far behind going into this this game points-wise. So I was saying, you know what, this can be my game to get some points back against Kai. Mocha goes out in actually 7th, and Wigwug goes out in 8th. So that's a 7-8 for Kai's players. And as you can see, he is losing his mind. It was so fun to cheer for our players and to cheer against the other players. We're #1 gets, I think, is that Lucian 2? Or was that Stridebreaker? I think it was Stridebreaker at Lucian pair. I think this baited myself and Kai. Oh, no, it is Lucian 2 for We Are #1, yeah. So he ends up getting Lucian 2 here, which is obviously a huge upgrade. Sadly, he was holding a Disco Spat, so we're basically playing down an item, but you'll be happy to play down an item if you get a Lucian 2. Dr. Phil is playing, like we were talking about earlier, this Bard reroll comp, and has hit Bard 3 and Misfortune 3. The only problem is we are super low HP. 8 HP is pretty scary to be on. But the upside is we have a pretty strong board, so we can beat people like Stridebreaker, stay alive, and Stridebreaker goes out. Actually, I was like, oh my god, it's going to be a 6, 7, 8 for Kai, but then We Are #1 goes down and goes out in 6. But still, a a 5-7-8 from Kai. I mean, I will not be upset about that. And the one thing to call out here is the level 10 into Twisted Fate 3 for Joe V. Kai losing his mind here, and he rotates into Dr. Phil at the perfect moment to eliminate this player on Kai's team. So it is a fourth. It is a 4-5-7-8 from the players on Kai's team. I mean, like almost the best possible outcome that you could have for my team. I had to put this VOD out on my channel just to flex a little bit the people on my team, because even though we ended up losing on the Subwars, I think we had a lot of fantastic players on our team. They all, you know, did their best, communicated a lot with each other, did some really cool stuff. So you know, thanks to everybody who played for my team and who did their best, because I mean, it was so fun watching everybody play and cheer and see Joe B hit this you know, like Twisted Fate 3, see Josh rolling it down here trying to hit units. At this point, it's really just battling to see who can have the best placement here. The Mordekaiser 3 ends up actually getting hit by Josh here, which actually kind of in some ways ends up saving him, because it gives him a strong enough board that he can kill a decent number of units. I mean, honestly, versus a TF2 and a Lucian 2, or a TF3 and a Lucian 2, you can't be too mad about taking a 5-unit loss, and Josh ends up getting a top 2 in that position. So yeah, I mean, these games were so sick to watch, honestly. I just wanted to show some more off for the people who are YouTube only and didn't get to watch these, because man, it was a fun tournament. I have talked with Kai, and like, he definitely wants to do more in the future. He honestly, like, he kind of wants to do one like sooner rather than later. I don't know how we'll actually figure that out, because like, if I have to give away $50 in RP every like week, I'll go broke, because I mean, yeah, it kind of hurts my look. If you're a viewer right now and you are an heir to the Kraft Heinz Corporation, go to my PayPal, donate, and say that you're gonna put it towards Subwars, and I'll throw another Subwar, like, I don't know, this week or something. But outside of that, we'll figure out when the next one could be. But thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe, and check out all my links down below. Thanks for watching. Oh my god.